Hello, welcome pen friends. It's time for my progress report for October 2024. I like to come on here and talk about how things are going with the fountain pens and the inks that I'm using every month. And so here I am. So I start with the report card because if I don't, I'll forget. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the TWSBI Eco in yellow with a broad nib. And I did put in it the Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyu-Syogun. And this has been wonderful. And it makes me feel really good because I love Graf von Faber-Castell Stone Gray. And it's my favorite. It's a little darker. But I have a bottle of this. So I'm no longer thinking I have to buy another bottle of the other one yet. And that's just great. But I gave it an A+. I do at times notice, that it isn't as dark on certain papers, but I really love it on Tomoe River paper, so I've been super pleased with this. Really, really awesome. Okay, then next up is one of my favorite pens, the Benu Talisman Mandrake with a broad nib, and I did put in this one, Noodler's Purple. Now, I love the color of this ink, and I love the ink, but somehow it didn't get that A+. It got an A. There was a distinct difference in flow, I think, compared to other inks, but I haven't really studied to go back and see what it was that was so much better. And this is straightforward and wonderful. It's just that it doesn't quite make it to the A+ category, but it's beautiful and very straightforward. In other words, I'm not seeing sheen or a bunch of shading or anything like that, but I love the color, so it's been wonderful. Okay, and then next up is in the standard line of TWSBI, this is the black one, and it is a TWSBI Eco with a broad nib, and this is the Birmingham Firebox. It's kind of a burned orange. I love this. It's an A+. It's extremely flowy, and it's just been really, really a nice dark shade. I like orange, but I'm definitely not as attached to a bright orange as I am something like this. And if I can remember, I've got some comparisons for you, so I need to kind of draw those closer so I can remember. Uh-oh, my assistant is coming. Oh no, Coco, my cat, is coming. Oh dear. We know what happened last time. So hopefully we can get through this video. Okay, next up is the Benu Euphoria in pink champagne. This is my favorite, one of my very favorite pens. I've got to get cat removal here. Oh my, we may have, Houston, we have a problem. we have got Coco right in the middle of things, and he looks so happy. Well, we'll let him have a little chance here, and then we'll see if we can make him happy somewhere else. Coco, do you have something to add to the video? Not even looking at me. Oh dear. Well, there, you got a good look at my mess. Anyway, I really do have a mess here, but I've been writing letters and doing all kinds of projects, so hopefully Coco will be happy with manual for a little while. Okay, so my favorite pen, and I'm saying that, it changes often, but definitely this is one of my very favorite pen models, and I'm still really enchanted with this Benu Euphoria in pink champagne. It's an exclusive from Gold Spot, and I got it with channel funds, so I always say thank you to all you viewers because the ad funds is what paid for this, and the ink. Which is J.R. Bond 1670, the Fuchsia de Magellan. This is an A++. This is super flowy, and for a shimmer ink, it's pretty amazing that it would be that flowy, but that's been my experience with several of the J.R. Bond inks, starting right out with Amethyst de Laurel. I just love it. So it's a joy to pick this one up, and I find myself not only letter writing with it, but also quite a bit of journaling with this one. And I have probably too many pens inked up right now. I've got 11 to talk about with you, and then I've got a few more that I'm using the fills, so it's kind of getting a little bit hard. I've got quite a few to manage right now, but I'll be cleaning out some. Okay, so next up is the Pelikan M800 with a fine nib. It's the black and blue. And I've got Diamine Oxblood in here, which I love this ink. I usually put a blue ink in it. And I gave it an A, and I said, this ink seems drier than Oxford Blue. So Diamine Oxford Blue is probably my favorite. Along with Sailor 50 States Illinois. That's another blue that I love in this pen. And you know, this has a fine nib, but it writes like a really juicy medium. Mine does. So I still love it, but I am remembering a better experience with two different inks. The Oxford Blue and the Sailor Illinois. So I'm going to remember that probably and go back to a blue ink for it. But I'll write this dry, and it's perfectly good. It gets an A, for heaven's sake, but it's just not that pizzazz, that really, really super smooth experience that I was expecting. So next up is my Lamy 2000 with Monteverde Birthday Cake. Beautiful purple, and I have had 2 pen friends send me samples. I am so thrilled. I've got the I'm going to have all the attributions in the description box, but thank you very much. And this gets an A. This is really, really pretty. It's a complex ink, and it's been great for letter writing. It's been best on Tomoe River paper and Graphilo. But when I get over on some of the other papers, Midori is one, and the other one is Cosmo, then I'm not as happy with this. So it's just flowing a lot smoother on these 2 papers, which I was surprised. It is a Monteverde ink. It does flow smoothly, but I'm noticing the sweet spot more with this ink than I did with some others. So I'm going to just put that in my memory there, try to. Okay, next up was the one pen I did have problems with. And I was surprised because I thought we'd moved past that with this one. This is the Kaweco Sport in Violet with a double broad. And it is one that, okay, I bought it with a stub nib, and then I replaced the nib. And I put BunGuBox Lamont in it, which is one of my old favorite inks. It may have gotten a little thicker, I don't know. But it's in a tightly sealed bottle in a box, so I don't think I can blame that. I really think I'm still having nib issues because I can see where some places where it just doesn't quite, it's not necessarily a hard start even. I'll be writing a letter and in the middle of it there'll be parts where it just doesn't put down as much ink. I'm not sure. My loop is broken, so I've got to get another one. And I did have trouble before with misalignment on this one slightly, so I'll probably clean this and wait till I get a loop to work on it again, or switch back maybe to the stub nib, because I know that one is nice and good, but it just doesn't. The stub nib on the Kaweco to me doesn't put down as much ink as the double broad, so I'm a little disappointed. But I still gave it an A+ because I've kept it going for letter writing and written whole pages at a time, but I'm just noticing the feel is not where I want it to be. So gracious sakes. Okay, next up is this lovely little pen. This is the Pelikan, the Online Campus Fluffy Cats, and it has a medium nib. I didn't put that, but it has a medium nib, and it's just super reliable. But for such a inexpensive kind of a student pen, it just blows my mind. And I put in it Pelikan 4001 Turquoise, a sample that was sent by a pen friend. I've got all of that as separate where I've done the attributions. So, and I gave it an A+. It is just, every time I pick it up, let's see, I don't know how much I've used of that. Well, okay, it's a medium nib, and I haven't used much of the ink, but every time I pick it up, which has been quite a bit, and I remember that this, even though it's a medium nib, takes quite a while to use up the ink. It's not like my double broads or my broad nibs even. So I'm really having fun with this, and it's excellent. I love it. Okay, next up is the Lamy Safari Strawberry, and it is filled with Monteverde Valentine Red. And this is very pretty. I really like this, but I prefer Pilot Momiji for the ink. So it's good that this is just a sample, and it's a wonderful sample sent by a pen friend, but I'm really happy that I was able to sample it because I know I have a bottle of Momiji, and that's going to probably be my favorite red ink. Very interesting, but I still gave it an A. I really like it. Okay, and then... Okay, I'm hesitating because next up is a very special pen. This, I've got a card here. This is a prototype made on the I think it's FDM 3D printer by a pen friend MS, and I'm gonna say MS2 because there's two very generous pen friends with the same initials, and I'd like to start to be able to differentiate the persons, and because this person makes pens, so very wonderful. And I did put in this one Waterman Serenity Blue, and it's just wonderful. Oh my goodness, I probably could have put any ink in it, but I wanted to try first with this because this has a number 8 medium nib. But there's something special about this one. I'm going to have to talk to my pen friend and find out if there's been work done to the nib or what. But it's really nice. Let's see, I was calling it MS Special 2024. And then I went back to the letter and it said prototype. And so I was writing this down too to have here. I'll probably keep it tucked into the journal so I don't lose it. But yeah, this is really fun. It's got a texture on the body. I'm hoping you could see that. It's really, really cool. And it's, I don't know, about 6 inches. It's the same. It's basically the same length as the Benu Euphoria. So it's a big pen, but it's not like, it fits in the pen slots and everything of my, my little desk pen holder. And it's got the metal section. It's really neat. You would think it wouldn't be comfortable to write with, but it is. It's got a nice large girth on this section, and so I've found it comfortable, and my grip holds onto it very well. It kind of rests right there. And anyway, there'll be more coming about this one, but I've been really enjoying it, so there'll be more on that. Wonderful, and thank you very much for sending me the prototype. Now the last one is the grade is not here, it's on the page for the pen, is that I was sent 3 ink samples, and we're going to be looking at some swatches. And so I decided what I wanted to put this Conway Stewart excuse me, Tavi, or Tavy, like Navy, only Tavy. And I put it in my TWSBI Eco with a medium nib. And it's very nice. You know, it's very straightforward blue-black. Let's turn that page. We'll just go ahead and find it. Yeah, and I gave it an A. I like it very much. And in fact, it's kind of bordering on an A+, because although it doesn't have sheen or anything, you know, bells and whistles, it's a wonderful, wonderful everyday blue-black. And I think I would just, yeah, I love it. And here's the chromatography. But we'll look at that page again in a minute, because we're going to go page by page just to see the larger writing samples. Well, I figured since I had to get a drink of water anyway, and we're going to end up going and flipping through all the pages, I really would like to do the comparison now about Birmingham Firebox, which was sent to me by a pen friend. She didn't like the ink and sent a whole box. Thank you, pen friend JG, very much, because it turns out I love it. And I can see why when I compare it to some other excuse me, inks that I like. Now, it turned out to be quite a bit darker than KWZ Monarch, but at the same time, it kind of falls into that family. And I noticed Monteverde Copper Noir is very close to it. And this one that was just a sample, it was a Tasha Hokusai Benasushi. Oh, I should never try to pronounce things, because, you know, I'm never going to remember, even if I am corrected and learn. I'm not going to remember. But anyway, that was a beautiful Tasha ink. And it looks very similar, except this one does have some water resistance. And so does Monteverde Copper Noir, if you're looking for that same color. Very, very beautiful though. And it's the way it flows from my pen. Just, I enjoy it quite a bit. Now, I use broad, double broad, juicy broads, you know, so that may make a big difference. If somebody's using just mediums, I'm not sure. I have not tested it yet. But, and here's another one, the Vinta Terracotta Demilla. Now that's brighter, I think, but it's still a nice burned orange. So I just thought you might like to see some of the ones that I pulled out. Now this was a favorite of mine. When I had a sample of this, or yeah, it was just a sample. Oh, I just thought that that was, it has a brightness and it has a shading that just can't be beat. And I don't even know whether this is one that comes in a large bottle or it may just be a companion, the small bottle size, which I have them around here, but you know what they look like. They're just the little, knock everything down. I'm worse than Coco. Oh, never mind, because it's buried in there and I'm going to knock everything down, even my little sample holder. Okay, so we'll go right back into the ink journal now, but I would forget to do this if I didn't insert it here, so. Okay, so first up was the TWSBI Eco in a broad nib with Pilot Fuyu-Syogun, and I love this. I'd forgotten how much I loved it. I even went and I got my, so I used this pen with the broad nib for the top half, and then I went and got my other cement gray TWSBI Eco, and I wrote with Graf von Faber-Castell Stone Gray, and I think you can see, even from where you are, this is darker, and it's a medium gray, so this is quite a bit lighter, but it's charming. It's really, really nice. So I think there's a place for both of them, but I'm definitely happy to use this as my medium. You know, I'm running out of the stone gray and I don't want to make a purchase, so I'm really, really pleased that this is so pleasing. So it's really nice. Okay, and then next up is the Benu Talisman with the Noodler's purple. So we're looking at purple here. Oh, I didn't do any kind of water test. Oh, okay, I knew that this has a lot of resistance, so I guess I didn't do the water test like letters, because it probably wouldn't be all that great, but I like to keep consistent, so I'm surprised I forgot to do that. But I did it with the Noodler's purple with my water brush, my trusty water brush from Amazon. I was calculating, so I was noticing that the prices vary quite a bit. It's the most expensive on Amazon, and then Goulet Pens and Van Ness Pen Shop also carry the Noodler's inks, and so you have a variety of prices there, but I've got the bottle now, so I'm really excited about that. And I need to make a cola ring for my file, because it is a full bottle. I always do notes to self, because I'll never remember, but this was really good. It held up all the way through. It never really faded. Maybe part of that is the fact that these pens with the Benu pens, the nib and feed, are really good. They're really, really good Schmidt nib units with, you know, the feed. And I kind of noticed they're real high quality. So, okay, then next is the one that we just did all of that comparison with. This is the Birmingham Firebox, and it's a burned orange. It wasn't really spectacular with the water brush. There wasn't anything real complex about it either, but it's really nice. And I had jotted down just off the top of my head that it would compare with my Antelope Canyon, but there's quite a difference there. This has maybe what I would say more red in it, but they're both kind of pretty. And that made me want to get this one out too. Good heavens, I'd have every pen that I own inked up if I wasn't careful. I'm allowing myself a lot more of that right now, since I'm still on a no-buy kind of a plan here. Okay, and then next up was the Benu Euphoria with the, you know, tried and true with the Fuchsia de Magellan, and I just love it. It's got the shimmer, but it's just a beautiful pink even when the shimmer doesn't come out, which it tends to come out pretty good if I remember to agitate the converter enough. Very, very nice. Okay, so then next up is the Pelikan M800 with the Diamine Oxblood, and of course it's such a good quality pen. There's never any fading in terms of the writing. You know, I write really fast, but I don't have any problems, and this is such a nice weighted pen. It's still making my top 5, which is, you know, after the honeymoon period, sometimes they don't. Now, I'm about to come out with another video for this year, a year later, because there's been a significant change. Somebody came along and disrupted my top 5 pens. A pen, which I won't tattle on right now today. I'll wait until I get you that video. But this is a really nice ink, and it goes really well in that pen. I just think I'll probably revert back to a navy blue in it because I like that so much. And then next up was the... okay, and here's where I have all my initials. So, unknown to, at the time I didn't know that PenFriend ES was going to send a sample too, and PenFriend Maryland sent a sample of this, and so I'm so grateful. It's such a beautiful purple. And in that Lamy 2000 with the broad nib, it's going really well for letter writing, so. And I need to do a... yeah, I was going to do a coloring because I ended up with about 10 mils of the ink, and I just love it. Okay, so this is the beautiful little chromatography. I couldn't think of the word, but the chromatography on the tile is even more stunning. I just could look at this card all day long. It's so pretty. Okay, a lot of blue, a lot of turquoise comes out of that, and a red or pink. Okay, then next up, and this, you know, this wrote really well. The little Kaweco Sport wrote really well on this paper, but on some of my letter writing, I may have had more complaints about it. Noticed it was dry, and it affected me more on the Midori paper. So I'm probably being a little harsh here, but I'm used to Pilot inks, so I'm kind of like, what is going on here? This is a double broad. I will make sure not to harm it anymore. I'll make sure not to use it till I get a loop again to look at it. Yeah, the light went out on mine, and I can't make the new batteries make it light up, and I basically doesn't really help me. It wasn't a very powerful loop to begin with, so I'm just needing to get a really basic one, I think. So this was good, but like I said, it only rated like a B+. I was thinking there needed to be some help for it. And then this one, oh man, this is just great. It's so happy. It's such a happy color. After I realized these things are kind of charming, but they're not great, I dug out my old, these things. I got them on Amazon. And I kind of like them. I just don't like how they leave the letters, like see how they left the E there? Let's see. They didn't make it go all the way through, so it looks silly. So I always modify it with my pencil, and it comes out better the way I do it. But anyway, these are stencils that I'm using that I like. They seem more fun on my ink journal. So yeah, and this was a sample from PenFriend AY, and I love it. But I do have quite a few turquoises to use up, so it satisfied my curiosity about this ink, and I've had a good time with it so far. Okay, so we still got about half the month to go. Okay, and then this is really pretty how it came out with the... I think this Monteverde Valentine is super good with the water brush. I mean, it's just really pretty. Very straightforward, but gosh, it's pretty. It's almost... you know, this almost doesn't look the same as the tile, but this is what I got in the nib, in the broad Lamy nib. Okay, then next, of course, I put the boring ink and the real pretty and interesting pen here, the prototype pen. And I did kind of a drawing which didn't come out really great, but I wanted to show the texture of the pen, because that's one of the main things about it. But with this, yeah, it has a textured cap and barrel, a metal section, a nice heavy weight. In fact, yeah, I weighed it. Okay, capped it was 44.2 grams, uncapped 33.7, but I didn't feel the weight when I was writing. I was okay with it. And almost 6 inches when capped. And I need to measure the section, but again, I've got kind of a problem with my little caliper gizmo, so I've got to get in there and fix that. probably I need a battery, most likely, knowing me. Okay, and then this number 8 Genhao branded nib is very smooth. I didn't have to work on it at all, which surprised me, because I had to work on 2 of mine in the, oh, what were they? 19s, I think, are the ones I had to work on. But they're good. Their medium nibs are a big improvement, I think, over the number 6 nibs. So, okay, then here's where I told you I had the other. So I had a total of 3 Conway Stewart ink samples come in from Pen Friend MB. Thank you very much. I found out this ink, or this company, is in England, and Van Ness sells the pens, but I'm not sure who in the US might carry the ink. Maybe nobody. I'm not sure yet, because I didn't take the research too far yet. So, and this was the other samples that had come in from Pen Friend Maryland and Pen Friend ES, the Monteverde Sweet Life birthday cake. It's a gorgeous ink. And then again, this Conway Stewart Edgecomb was brighter. And it was the navy one, or the dark blue-black, that really caught my eye. So there it is in the writing sample again. It got an A in the TWSBI Indigo Bronze. Very, very pretty pen. It's like, that one is one like the cement gray. I could have gray ink and a navy always inked up. In fact, I believe that's what I'm going to do now as we've done this video. I'm going to put them together in my little tray of Ecos, because I can write them dry, write them for months if I need to, and I really like that. Okay, so I think now we're headed over to the library for just a little bit of chit-chat. There, I'm over in the library, and I just had just a few things to talk about. The first thing I was going to mention is I did have a switch on my journal. I ended up moving into a much smaller, lighter journal. This is The Author by GLP Creations, and it does have a lined grid. The paper in the Cosmo notebook is so wonderful. I just couldn't help but think it's better for letter writing, for me anyway. And so I've moved into this, and I have, you know, I've been in this for, let's see, let's see what date that, October 5th. So I didn't last very long in the other one, even though I liked the paper a lot. In fact, I just kept looking at that nice lined paper thinking, that's letter writing paper. So we'll see. I'm a little bit strange. But what I really think the lesson for me is that this doesn't need a notebook cover. It's thinner and lighter. And so I'm more likely to write in it, take it everywhere with me. The other one, I'm thinking I need to keep it protected, and I just felt like, oh, I didn't want to take it with me. And this week I've got at least one, like half a day out on medical appointment, and I'm going to be accompanying someone. I want to be in a journal I can really truly take with me. I love this sticker. I got it at it's called SEW Bonita, and it's a little shop here in Corpus that has all these neat stickers. So it makes me think a lot of Willie, because it's his colors, but I miss him so much. Okay, so that was one thing. The other thing is that, you know, I just did a review on Lisa Marie Presley's posthumous, her memoir, and it got me into my notes. It got me, well, I got more than notes. I did one year, 2016, I did the NaNoWriMo, I guess it's called. National, I don't know. I mixed that up, and I don't have all that paperwork in here. But in this binder, I have all of my writing, and I started to read some of it, and it really wasn't as terrible as what I thought. And in fact, my first thought that came to mind was, you know, I've got additional steps. There's some more things that I'd like to write about. And I can see from, let's see, I've got a little, like a thing in here. I had, the most effective thing that I did when I was writing this memoir was list out things I wanted to write about. And then I literally just wrote about each individual thing. And I'm thinking I got that probably from Natalie Goldberg and Anne Lamott. I've read several different books on writing that I think I got these ideas from, but I don't remember specifically which one. So, and then I had this really interesting list that was what I shouldn't write about. And I just listed the things, and that's the most, those are the scary ones, you know. It starts right off with mental illness. And then it talks about my temporary estrangement. And then things mom told me, money, it says, and there's a funny one, how many purses and backpacks I bought. My laziness, which is not checked off. I didn't write about that. So Tupperware foolishness. I didn't write about that either. But there are several that are so, let's see. So one of those writers says the untalkaboutables. And you'll probably recognize that better than I do. I don't know who said that. So anyway, certainly one of my next steps would be to write about the pandemic. But I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I've got journals all during that 2.5 to 3 year period where I can extract. And those things I wrote surely are going to remind me of what, I can extract and write more or just write down what I had. And then one other thing I want to mention about it is the only thing I regret, this is all typewritten. And it's single space, which is horrible. I'll bet you it's because I have such a crappy word processing program that I didn't have, or I couldn't figure out how to do double space. I'll bet you anything that there was some dumb thing like WordPad or something that I found myself using. And of course, the computer I have right now, I can do double space. I've done that several times. So it's so horrible because it's like, it's on green paper and it's single spaced, but that's okay. I mean, if I die and they say, well, here's this thing that she wrote, it's full of interesting stuff, I gotta hand it to myself. And I can see also a few more breadcrumbs was that I had a bunch of it handwritten. Whoops, this is going to probably slide right off. Yeah, a bunch of it handwritten too that I must have typed up. So you could see that I was really interested in doing the handwriting part. And 2016, so that was interesting. I don't even know what I was using for a pen in this. I can't even guess. I'd have to go back and see, my earliest ink journals and stuff and notes and things like that. So that's been on my mind since reading the memoir. It's not exactly like I have a reason to write one, except that I felt like it might be therapeutic. And I still do. I still think that even if nobody reads it and it's just, shredded or burned when I die, then if it gives me something, some perspective, then that's pretty cool. So there's no reason. I'm glad I didn't get rid of it. At one point, I thought about shredding it all because it's got a lot of personal stuff. But really, when you get right down to it, it's nothing but thoughts and processing the past. That's all it really is. So, and there was a really cool thing in there too. I mean, there was a letter I wrote, like, how you write a letter to someone that you aren't going to send. And I always think when I'm doing those things that they're going to be so cringeworthy. But when I read over it, I thought that was good enough to send. I mean, had I been in that frame of mind, there would have been nothing wrong with sending that wonderful letter. So it's hindsight, that's a long time ago, 2016. So I'm planning to get back and write. Let's see, I jotted down next 2 steps. Write up pandemic excerpts from my journal. Excerpts. And then I wrote down handwritten aspect and list menu. And then write about those things. Yeah, I like that idea of listing what I want to write about, because there's nothing worse than coming to any kind of blank paper and then being kind of meandering in the mind about what I'm going to write about. But I can see from my little check marks and all of those lists I did back then that really helped me. And even though I might have to kind of refile them in some sort of a, they may belong together, the new writing that I do. I guess that having a 3-ring binder is probably the way to go for that. So pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I'll have a pen chat next week. So most of the pen related stuff I'll save for then. And I mean, I'm excited about that because I haven't bought anything, but it's been a really good time of insights. And after buying the 2 bottles of ink and whatever else it was, see how quickly they forget. Oh, the Baron and Fig cards. I'm holding one in my hand, so I ought to be able to remember that. After doing that, I didn't fall off the wagon and stay off the wagon. I've gone right back to no buy, which I think is really good and really appropriate for my current financial, situation. So, okay, the next thing I wrote down was, I really feel a well-healed healed up, not healed, H-E-E, but H-E-A-L, healed from my fall. My ribs are much better. At the 1 month period, where it got to be a month, I noticed a big difference in feeling much better, being able to do everything again and not feeling like I couldn't sleep, on one side or the other. And so I'm very, very, very grateful for that. The last time I did one of these progress report videos was approximately a month ago, and it was not the same story. It was just awful. I could see and feel the pain in my voice even. I watched that just the last segment to see what did I talk about then, and oh boy, that was a bad time. So doing good with the pen pal writing. I've got 5 plus 1 I wrote down to write. So 5 replies and 1 that I want to get out because it's going a long ways. And I'd like our letters to kind of cross in the mail instead of her having a long wait. So, okay, I talked about the journal swap. Weather, oh mercy. We have had much cooler mornings here in South Texas, and that's been really, really nice. Today we had a nice cool morning, but we're going up to 95 today. And then tomorrow we're supposed to drop quite a bit. And then we're supposed to be drier air. So that's something to look forward to. But I'm going to be in a doctor's office for half a day tomorrow. So, not half a day, but however long they take to help us, the person. And so I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see. Probably we'll all be clamoring to get outside after that. And so that'll be interesting. But it's been really stressful to see the devastation from the 2 hurricanes. And I know people in Florida, and I've heard what they're going through. And then the people in North Carolina and Tennessee and South Carolina and Georgia and all of the things that we encounter, especially I'm really tied to the YouTube community. So what'll happen is I'm already following a channel for a different purpose, and here's all these updates and their personal situation, and there's nothing like seeing how it affects a family and a person individually to really, really get it, how life-changing these events can be. So we know only just the scraping of the surface, like when Harvey came through, it was 7 days without power and different little cleanup jobs, but that's nothing compared to having some of the things. I don't even want to put the visuals in your mind because you've already seen it, I'm sure. But, we just are wanting this hurricane season to be over, and I'm sure everybody is hoping for that, for the storms to stop, It's expensive, it's heartbreaking, and it's difficult all throughout, wherever they end up going. It's just awful. Anyway, enough of that. So I wrote down, I've got lots of appointments to accompany people in October, November. The cats are all doing well, and in fact, they're sleeping better. I think there's 2 reasons for that. It's a little cooler, and the other thing is, I really believe they've already made the fall back, because the other morning, usually Coco wakes me up at 4 in the morning with that. He's like an alarm clock. He's absolute on it. And it makes sense because he sort of was on that 5 o'clock business, all the time. But then when we fall back and then anyway, I get all confused, but I do believe he's kind of made some kind of change because he's been letting me sleep just a little bit longer. So instead of 4, today was 5:30, and he hadn't been, screaming or anything or talking to me. So anyway, we all kind of like it when it's cooler here in South Texas. So, but I have a lot to say about the the pen subjects and ink subjects when I come back to do my pen chat. So I'll do that next week. And this is getting long, so I'll sign off. But I've really been enjoying all 11 of those pens, and working through some of those little glitches and problems is also, I won't say it's always fun, because that Kaweco pen, I thought I had conquered the day with it, and I just haven't. The only one that I'm really crazy about is that little blue one, the mellow blue, because I'm not going to mess ever with that nib. It's just perfect the way it is, and it writes so good. And I want them all to write like that. But I just haven't had that experience, so I'm dealing with the ink is probably a major factor too, but maybe I'll have more to update you on during the pen chat about that. So thank you for tuning in, and let's meet in the comments and talk about pens and inks and anything else you want to talk about. And let me know what you're writing with this month if you feel like it. It's always fun to see that. And it's always nice to have the memory jogged about certain inks and pens that might be good combinations. So I'll see you on the next video on the pen chat, and I'll see you in the comments. Bye for now.